Hi and welcome back to my film and TV channel. You're all staying safe and well. And yes, we're going to have a look at Frankenstein today. Yes, or his monster, who was possibly the best thing about this film. Always is. Every Frankenstein I've watched, I think the monster's the guy that we stick up for, isn't he? I'm going back to my old Hammer horror days, of course. Great films. I loved the Hammer horrors when I was a kid. I used to frighten myself and go to bed and hide under my covers, but there you go. That was all part of watching a horror film in those days, wasn't it? It's slightly different now to, of course, the horrors, but yeah, interestingly enough, this isn't classed as a horror, and I can sort of understand that when I've watched it. It's a 15, anyway, more of that in a moment. 15 certificate, 2 hours, 29 minutes. Yes, there's nothing wrong with something like this being that long as it fills the time well. Sadly, this didn't quite always fill the time as profitably as it should. It's classed as a gothic science fiction film, so not a gothic science fiction horror film, just a gothic science fiction film, directed, written and produced, of course, by Guillermo del Toro, based on Mary Shelley's 1818 novel. I've never listened or read that yet. I'll have to go back and listen to that one, I think. I'll get it on Audible at some stage. Anyway, David Rooney from Hollywood Reporter said, one of Del Toro's finest. I wouldn't disagree, actually. This is epic scale storytelling among common beauty, feeling and artistry. So there you go. Everyone's happy then. Well, not quite. No, there is a bit of dissent, although, of course, David's opinion is sort of backed up by a lot of people. Alistair Harkness from The Scotsman said, the end result is all style and very little substance. There you go. So, yeah, I'm nearer the first one, but there are a few problems with this, but we'll talk about it anyway. Please, before we do, if you can hit that like button, guys, helps the channel, of course, helps me, supports the channel in the algorithms and all this sort of thing that is important to channels like myself to get out there. So you can hit that like button, guys, while you're on now. That would help me very, very much. Be fantastic, of course. If you're not already subscribed, if you enjoy the content, please do so. I put my opinion out there. I'll have a look at other people's opinions as well and comment on that. So that's how I do my reviews. And of course, if you've got any hype points to spare, yes, you get this hype button, of course, on YouTube now. So if you can spare us any hype points, guys, it'd be much appreciated if you can do that, because that helps all the algorithms as well. That helps the channel, helps get sponsors on the channel and adverts, etc. All helps us, the metrics, all helps that. So if you can do that hype button for me, guys, that'd be much appreciated. Right, I'll chat a little bit more later, other ways you might be able to, if you want to shout out and things like that. We'll talk about that later on before we go anyway. If you can bear with me till later. Right, back to the film. The film stars Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, yeah, he's playing the monster, Mia Goth, Felix Camera, David Bradley, Lars Mikkelsen, Christian Convery, Charles Dance. Nice to see Charles Dance at the start of this. Christoph Waltz is in this. And of course, the story follows the life of Victor Frankenstein, an egotistical scientist, similar to his father. His father wasn't too good, but of course, Victor isn't great either. Certain things, there's obviously a level of forgiveness at the end and stuff like this, but yeah, he wasn't perfect, was he, by any means? Anyway, the guy who is sort of perfect is the poor creature, isn't it? He's creating new life in the form of the creature, and it results, of course, in very dangerous consequences for all that cross the path of Victor and the creature, of course. It had a theatrical release because it's done by Netflix, but it's not straight onto Netflix. It's had a limited theatrical release on October the 17th, 2025. Check your territories. And it will be released. Yes, I'm recording this on November the 1st, but it will actually be released on Netflix from November the 7th. So you'll be able to watch it if you subscribe to that channel. But check your territories again. Right, my thoughts on this. He's an interesting one, Del Toro, isn't he? He's not always impressed me. I think the last one, Shape of Water, something about water, about the water creature, of course. I enjoyed that. I must admit, I did enjoy that one. But it's not always impressed me, in fairness, Del Toro. But I think he does this adaptation reasonably well, fairly well. I wouldn't say he hit it spot on, but because it's not without its flaws, unfortunately. And I thought the second half of the film is much better than the first, which at times a little bit clunky in the storytelling, a bit clunky, and it sort of, when it concentrates more on the monster, of course, then it gets a lot better. And the initial Victor story is a bit less than convincing, I thought. So it all improves when it gets concentrates on the monster perhaps more than Victor himself. The pace is not going to appeal to everyone. It is drawn out at 2 hours 29 minutes, and the film is definitely more violent. There's a lot of violence in this. Some people have said it's trying to appeal to a sort of demographic where they enjoy just violence rather than a build-up of a story. So yeah, it's probably right. It's certainly far more violent than scary. There's nothing particularly scary in this. A couple of the animations of corpses is quite scary, but it doesn't have that sort of scare factor. But there's no doubt in the reasonable production, although the CGI is also a little bit iffy to say the least. I mean, there was one sequence where there was wolves involved, or a couple of sequences with wolves, and yeah, it wasn't the greatest CGI in fairness, but a bit dodgy at times. But you don't get a lot for $120 million budget these days, do you? Obviously, but yeah, and it is long-winded, so there are flaws with it. I'm not going to say it's brilliant. I did like it, but I'm not going to say it's brilliant. The cast, just about right. Yeah, again, a great monster interpretation, of course, by Audiio, I think, who stepped in, didn't he? I think we'll see someone mentions that in a minute, one of the critics. Although Victor is a little bit one-dimensional as a character, no blame on the actor particularly, but I think a little bit more Mia Goth would have been nice as well. So well, that's my little views on the cast, who generally fairly good. As in the original feature, it as always is going to be the creature that we invest in as the story progresses, and we sort of follow his second part of this film, the second part of the story, with real affection. And the ending, though different to most adaptations I've seen, is spot on and a nice ending, a poignant ending, a very good ending. So sometimes they don't end well, these things, do they? But that's spot on. Tara Brady, we'll have a quick look. She's from the Irish Times. She sort of liked it. She said, with looming grace and the fluffy heart of a golden Labrador, Elodie standing in for a departing Andrew Garfield, I think he was pending to do the monster, wasn't he? Turns out to be the most swooning goth heartthrob since Edward Scissorhands emerged from Vincent Price's laboratory. Well, you almost thought at one stage that Mia Goth's character was about to do the dirty with the monster, and it wouldn't have felt that out of place. It seemed right to me. I was sort of expecting it to happen, and if it had, I think we all would have understood it. But that's the sort of affection that sort of grew for the monster, and of course, Mia Goth was a bit of a tease anyway, wasn't she, in this film as well? So it wouldn't have surprised me. It didn't go that far, but I would have understood it. Jeffrey McNabb from The Independent, he liked it as well. He said, for all Del Toro's formal mastery, this Frankenstein is ultimately short of the voltage needed really to bring it to life. So he did like it, but he had reservations, of course. And I think Jeffrey's possibly right. I mean, the scenes at times did lack some punch. As far as Victor's experiments, I say there's a couple of good ones with the when he's reanimating corpses that were quite scary, made you jump back a little bit. But even the reanimation of the monster itself, it just appears. We don't get it. There's no punch. It's a failure. He tries to reanimate this monster with the lightning, and it's a failure. It doesn't work. So you don't actually see the monster. You're aware of something's going to happen. Of course you are, but you don't actually see it with the power of the bolts and the lightning. All that sort of effect that you expect isn't there. It concentrates more the previous night, of course, on the action involving his benefactor in the tower and what happened there. So again, it was swap that violence for the actual creature creation, which was a bit of a cop out. I thought, that we actually didn't see it as such. So I thought that was. As I said, it's far from perfect, this adaptation, but I wouldn't, obviously that's an interesting slant to put on it. Jamie Graham from Empire magazine, though, he scored this 80. He said, lightning camera action, Frankenstein is brought to life in glorious Gothic fashion. Well, he wasn't, was he? We didn't see it. By Guillermo del Toro's painstaking artistry and Mike Hill's elegant creature design, a big film with a huge beating heart. Yes, so I think Jamie's a bit over the top. To conclude, yes, it has heart. Of course, it has. It does lack perhaps horror, scares as such. Of course, when you're sort of picking dead bodies and picking up dead bodies and chopping up bodies, it should be quite ooh, but it's not really. It's all done quite. It's all sort of sanitised for me, and as I say, it lacks a certain gloss on the special effects. Of course, within the budget it's got, you think it perhaps could have been a little bit better. And of course, it's Netflix, so you sort of, as a straight to streaming thing, you might expect this sort of low quality, but not for something that's had a theatrical release as well. Uh, but for all its flaws, and there are lots of flaws, I think we have a monster to invest in, which is part of the battle. And for me, an ending that was pretty perfect. I love the ending, yes. And sadly, we're not going to get a Bride of Frankenstein, are we? Because of what happened in the end of this. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a Bride of Frankenstein, but perhaps that can be redone at some stage. I think I wanted to see the monster have a girlfriend, and I thought it was going to happen in this at one stage, but it didn't. But anyway, yeah, I liked it. Well, Del Toro, not bad. Not a bad effort, put it that way. Rotten Tomatoes, let's have a look at what other people are scoring it. 229 critics, 195 fresh, but a chunk of rotten, 34. So it's not convincing everybody. Let's make that fresh 196. I'll add my thoughts, my fresh to that. The consensus of the website, finding the humanity in one of cinema's most iconic monsters, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. It's a lavish epic that gets its most invigorating vaults from Jacob Elordi's standout performance. I think that's par for the course. Get him a girlfriend. Anyway, Metacritic, 78 out of 100. That's based on 50 critics. 44 were positive, 6 were mixed, so not a total disaster. No negatives. There's no negatives on this. I'm very hard pressed, as I say, apart from a few little flaws. I don't think there are any negatives. Let's make that 45 positive with mine. Joe Public like it, yeah, 4.6 out of 5 on Rotten Tomatoes. Metacritic users, 7.6 out of 10. Internet Movie Database, over 7,300 scores. It's getting a 7.8 out of 10. Yes, and I will give it, as I say, mainly for that second half of the film where I really invested in it as opposed to the first half, which was a bit hit and miss. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed this and definitely one of Del Toro's better efforts, although it could have perhaps reined in or improved in certain elements, but I'll give it a 7 out of 10. There you go, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your scores on this. Let me know what your thoughts. That'd be great to have your views as well. Please, as I said, if you can hit those buttons. If you want to contact me about this film or anything to do with film and TV, you can through YouTube or my socials. There are ways of doing that. And of course, if you did want to shout out or help sponsoring the channel for future reference, if you like what I try and do, all you ever have to do is keep watching and listening. Hi again, hope you enjoyed the feature, guys. Thanks for watching. Please, if you did enjoy the content, please give us a thumbs up, and if you've not already done so, press that subscribe button. If you've not already subscribed, that'd be wonderful. It's free to subscribe, absolutely free. Also, check out my social media links if you want to follow me on TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook. They'll all be in the description below. And my special thanks to supporters of the channel, yes, Piat6505, who have an eBay shop selling film and TV memorabilia, including posters, books, magazines. There'll be a link again in the comments section. And if you're into your football, don't forget my football stuff on Manchester City for general football fans, but mainly City fans, of course. Or if you know someone who might enjoy that, give them a kick in my direction. I'll be very, very grateful. And as ever, guys, comments on this feature is wonderful. Anything to do with film and TV is always very, very welcome. It's great to talk film and TV. I thank you, guys, for your support. Stay safe, everyone.